بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Isn't this a bit too high?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so last week we covered Surah Al-Fatiha, and let me just see who reflected over Surah Al-Fatiha after last week's halaqah. Did you guys think about it? Did you give it a thought? Did you reflect on the meanings? By the way, Surah Al-Fatiha, as we said last week, is extremely profound. It's really, like, if you read it well, it's a life-changing experience. So, and that's the treasure of the Quran that we have. And sometimes, people have treasures in their hand, and they don't realize the real value of this treasure. And what we have access to, like reading Surah Al-Fatiha, reading from the Quran, these are treasures. Literally, these are treasures. So today, inshallah, we will move on to Surah Al-Baqarah. And Surah Al-Baqarah is the longest surah in the Quran. It's the longest surah in the Quran. Okay? And Surah Al-Baqarah has a very special place. One day the Prophet ﷺ wanted to send a group outside of Medina. And he wanted to send them on a mission. And he wanted to appoint one of them to be a leader. Because, like, if there's a group together, for example, traveling, it's important for them to appoint one of them as a leader, by the way. One of the Prophet ﷺ says in the authentic hadith, الراكب شيطان والراكبان شيطانان والثلاثة ركب. When people travel, so when a person travels by himself, okay, he's more likely, basically, the Prophet ﷺ used the word shaitan, but he said the person is more likely to fall, do something wrong. The person is going to be weak. They are traveling by themselves. And we're talking about extended travel. If two people, then they are like two weak people. But if three people together, they are a proper group. And the Prophet ﷺ says, إِذَا كُنْتُمْ ثَلَاثَ فَأَمِرُوا أَحَدَكُمْ. If you are three, so appoint one of you as a leader. So it's good if you are traveling as a group together. It's basically to give someone, one of you, the leadership. Basically, he can make decisions, but not act as a tyrant, okay? Say, okay, I'll make decisions as I wish. No, it's basically, just we agree that one person is a leader, so if he's going to make a decision, he can consult, but the final say lies with that person. So the Prophet ﷺ was sending a group of Muslims on a mission, and as he was sending them, he wants to appoint one of them as a leader. So he's asking each one of them, how much do you know of the Quran? How much do you know of the Quran? So he's asking, some people say, I have Surah Al-Ikhlas, I have Surah AnNas, Surah Al-Falaq, I have this surah, I have that surah, I have Surah Al-Kahf, etc. The Prophet ﷺ is impressed with what each one of them has. One of them says, I have Surah Al-Baqarah. I've learned Surah Al-Baqarah. The Prophet ﷺ says, you are the leader. You are the leader. And we said at that time when someone memorized a surah, basically they learned it. They learned the meanings, they really acted on it. As you know, the famous hadith we know about the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, one of them says, like AnNas ibn Malik, كُنَّا نَتَعَلَّمُ خَمْسَ آيَاتٍ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. We used to take only 5 verses from the Quran. فَنَتَعَلَّمُ مَا فِيهَا مِنَ الْعِلْمِ وَالْعَمَلِ. So we learn everything about it, theoretically and practically. We learn how to act on it. What are the things that are applicable that we can act on? So then when we have finished all of this properly, we would move on to the next 5 verses. That's how they learned the Quran. So they didn't take like big chunks of the Quran, just learn them, memorize, etc. No. They would take 5 verses, learn everything about these 5 verses, see how they can apply them. And then after they apply them and they sort of become part of their lifestyle, then they move on to another group of 5 verses. So Surah Al-Baqarah is extremely important, and the Prophet ﷺ gave it a name actually. The Messenger ﷺ called Al-Baqarah and Ali Imran, he gave them a name. Anyone knows these names? What is the name of Surah Al-Baqarah and Ali Imran? The Prophet ﷺ gave them a description. And the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ سُورَةَ الْبَقَرَةِ وَسُورَةَ آلِ عِمْرَانِ تشفعان يوم القيامة لصاحبهما. Surah Al-Baqarah and Ali Imran, on the day of judgment, they will intercede for the person who has learned them. And intercede means that they would seek Allah's forgiveness for the person who has memorized them. They are like a shield, they are a protection for the person who memorizes them. What are they called? Al-Baqarah and Ali Imran, they have a name. Az-Zahrawan, the two roses of the Quran, or the two flowers of the Quran. Okay? So you can see, sometimes, like when you when you love something, you sort of personify it. You give it a character. Again, the Prophet ﷺ is referring to them as like they have a character of their own. Like, when someone loves their own car, they give it a name, right? Sometimes they give their car a name, and they treat it like a spoiled daughter or girl. Some people value their phone and they give their phone a name. Some people give their house a name. By the way, this was a very common practice. Maybe today with modern technology, people are not using this a lot. But actually, everything like people valued, they used to give it a name or a title. Very special name. So the Prophet called Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran, he called them as Zahrawan, like the two flowers of the Quran. So Surah Al-Baqarah, we said, is the longest surah in the Quran. And the surahs in the Quran can be divided into two types. First type is called Makki. Second type is called Madani. So Makki, what are the Makki surahs? They were revealed in Mecca. Well, this is like a way to describe them, but the most accurate Makki surahs are the surahs that were revealed before Hijrah. Before Hijrah. Because some of the Makki surahs were revealed outside of Mecca. Some of the Madani surahs, for example, that were revealed after Hijrah, some of them were revealed not in Medina, but in Mecca. But they're still called Madani. Why? Because they were revealed after Hijrah. So, how can we tell the difference between Makki surah and Madani surah? Makki surah is a surah that was revealed before Hijrah, before the immigration of the Prophet ﷺ. Madani surah is the surah that was revealed after the Hijrah, after the immigration to Medina. Surah Al-Baqarah was not revealed in one go, was not revealed all at once. It's such a huge surah, such a big, we said it's the longest surah in the Quran. It was not revealed at once. Take for example Surah Al-Ikhlas, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. It was revealed all at once. Short surah, it was revealed at one time. But Surah Al-Baqarah was revealed over a long time. Is Surah Al-Baqarah Makki or Madani? Al-Baqarah Makki or Madani? It's actually Madani. It was revealed after Hijrah. It was revealed after Hijrah. It was revealed over a long period of time. Some of the scholars of Tafsiir, they actually indicate some of the early surahs that were revealed from Surah Al-Baqarah were revealed shortly after the Hijrah. Shortly after the Hijrah. And the revelation of Surah Al-Baqarah was made in chunks. Okay, a number of verses together, and extended over a long period of time, over about 10 years. It took about 10 years to reveal Surah Al-Baqarah in total. It was almost 10 years. Let me ask you a question. Surah Al-Fatiha, is it Makki or Madani? And why? Surah Al-Fatiha, Makki or Madani? Makki. Why Makki? Now the order in the Quran has nothing to do with
part of prayer.
Yes, it was revealed. It contained the basic meanings of Islam, and Muslims used to pray from the early days. How did they pray? Surah Al-Fatiha, right? They recited Surah Al-Fatiha.
But the namaz is the last three, when it was the Prophet went Miraj, the last 3 ayah was revealed on that time, right?
Okay, I'm glad you asked this, but I would say if you have a question, keep it till the end, so we keep the flow going, but please hold on to your questions. I'm going to answer this because it's an important question, because this is a general misconception. Oftentimes we think that Salah was only prescribed during Al-Isra and Mi'raj, right? People think before that there was no prayer. No, there was a prayer before. The specification of 5 daily prayers was made or was stipulated during the journey of Al-Isra and Al-Mi'raj. But before that, the Muslims used to pray. And they used to pray the way we pray. The way we pray. But they used to pray Qiyam al-Layl. Qiyam al-Layl was an obligation. And some scholars say no, they used to pray as well. In addition to Qiyam al-Layl, they used to pray a prayer at the beginning of the day and a prayer at the end of the day. Okay, so there was prayer already. But the specifications of the 5 daily prayers was done during Al-Isra al-Mi'raj. So prayer was already there. Okay, so Fatiha was there already. Surah Al-Baqarah. There's a lot of topics in Surah Al-Baqarah, and we won't go fast and we won't go too slow. There's a way to go really slow and uncover every meaning in Surah Al-Baqarah. Not every meaning, but as many meanings as possible. But this would make, this whole series a very lengthy one. So we're not going to go very slow, we're not going to go very fast. We'll take a moderate pace, inshallah, which hopefully will be suitable for all different age groups as well. So the first verse in Surah Al-Baqarah after Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim start with Alif Lam Mim. Alif Lam Mim. Is this a word? Is this a word? Is there a word in Arabic called Alif Lam Mim that has a meaning? No. It's 3 letters. Alif, Lam, and Mim. Now what is the meaning of Alif and Lam? Alif, Lam, and Mim? What is the meaning? There is a huge dispute among the scholars as to what they mean, but we don't know for sure which meaning is correct or which interpretation is correct, but there could be many lessons. There could be many lessons. One of them is that Alif Lam Mim basically means, what it signifies, Jazakallahu khair, what it basically means that this Quran, because the Arabs, by the way, obviously the Arabs at the time of the Prophet, they reached the pinnacle of eloquency, of beautiful speech. The best form of Arabic that we have was just at the time of the Prophet, maybe a little bit before and during his lifetime. This was the peak of the Arabic language. Like the Arabs, they had such a mastery of their language that was phenomenal. Phenomenal. I'll give you an example. Arabs spoke poetry on impulse. They didn't have to write it down, go and engineer, rhythm and patterns. No, they didn't do that. Arabs, like someone thought of a thought, they could straight away speak of their gut, speak a long poem, make it on the spot, without any preparation, without any editing, without anything. They would just speak it out. That's it. That was extremely common, very common. In the Arabic language, specifically, their vocabulary was huge at the time. One thing, it had a few names. Like for example, simple thing, the word lion, in Arabic has more than 100 names. And each one of them describes something unique about the lion. And each one of them would suit a specific context. And if you use a word in a context that is inappropriate for it, they would recognize you're not an Arab. They would recognize, they know that. So it was extremely eloquent, very precise, very powerful. So, because the Arabs were the masters, and by the way, there was something about the Arabs at the time. Arabs looked down at the time, they looked down on everyone else. They looked down on everyone else. Anyone who did not speak the Arabic language, the Arabs looked down upon them. The Arabs thought the only language that was worthy of speaking and learning was the Arabic language. They took so much pride in the Arabic language. And sometimes, this is with every nation by the way, but sometimes it reveals itself, it's very apparent, sometimes it's not apparent. So for example, sometimes here you go to certain areas, if you speak English with an accent, people don't want to deal with you. There are people who show this attitude, right? You speak to them with an accent here, because you don't speak proper English for them, they don't want to deal with you. Or they might make fun of your accent. So the Arabs were, at that time, they had something like that. Like if someone did not speak proper Arabic language, They didn't really take them seriously. So the Arabs took so much pride in their language, so much pride. If you had in a tribe a person who was very well spoken, like they had a mastery of language, they had powerful expressions, they were articulate, they could speak, publicly speak and express themselves and have this level of mastery of the language, this person was definitely going to become a leader among their people. Definitely going to be given status. People would listen to that person. Whatever he said, whatever she said, they would take that seriously and take it for granted, not even question it. This is how much pride they took in the language. If you had a poet, man, poets were given high status. They were respected. They were given wages. They were given money. They were given everything they wanted. They were held in high esteem. Why? Because of the mastery of the language. So the Arabs took so much pride in the language, and that's one reason why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the main miracle to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was what? The Quran. It was in the form of speech. And it challenged the Arabs that you have mastered the language to such a high level that your language is very differentiated and very particular, very complex. And it's not easy to master. Yet you guys cannot, match the level of the Quran. Bring all your poets, bring all your public speakers, all these eloquent people, let them challenge the Quran, let them come up with something that is even close to the Quran. You can't do that. Allah says, even if you bring all of humanity to try to produce a text similar to the Quran, even if it's one short surah, you won't be able to do that. Some of the people who, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they claimed prophethood. They claimed to be prophets, like Musaylima al-Kadhdhab. Musaylima, right? Musaylima claimed to be a prophet. He said, "Oh Muhammad, you are a messenger and I am a messenger. We're just similar to each other." So he started making some surahs up. Because his people, his followers, they said, Muhammad has given his followers beautiful surahs, beautiful language, eloquent, a lot of strength in that language. So he receives a revelation. Give us some of the revelation you receive. So he looks into the Quran and he sees some of the short surahs, like he sees Surah Al-Fil. Who knows Surah Al-Fil? أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي ضَلَالٍ. Right? So he looks at this and he says, Muhammad was given Surah Al-Fil, the surah of the elephant, and I was given the surah of the elephant as well. I have a surah, he called it Surah Al-Fil. And what did he say in it? He said, الفيل ما الفيل وما أدراك ما الفيل له خرطوم طويل وذيل قصير. He says, feel, and do you know elephant? Do you know what the elephant is? It has a long trunk and a short tail. Basically, meaningless, like just rhyming words that have no meaning, right? For him that was revelation. So people of his time laughed at that. He said, it doesn't make sense. Like what's the point behind that? He had another